That's right, friends. You've got 2 minutes, 45 seconds, Winning Wednesday, right here with Morpheus. Your strategic, that's right, strategery, I said it. Your strategic innovation team with the United States Air Force. Space Force. We got awesome. Oh my gosh, I could not be more excited for what's coming up right here, right now. 2 minutes to share along. One minute, 30 seconds. Gonna be live with Air Force Gaming, Marine Gaming, Space Force Gaming. I'm telling you, we got the whole force here with us today. Talking what does that look like? What does the future of gaming hold? Can't take it lightly. It's not something to be taken lightly. That's right. You got 1 minute. Share it, like it, follow along. Bring your friends into the conversation, whether you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, where else? Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, wherever you are watching from. Could not be more excited to be talking about Air Force Gaming, Space Force Gaming, Marine Gaming, just gaming in general. DoD, we'll say DoD gaming, because there's a lot of goodness taking place right here with this fella. This guy. Right here, one representative, boom! Mark Sullivan, bringing a strong Air Force Gaming, brought his friends along. Big shout out to all of the gaming network there with the DoD, Air Force, Marines, Space Force. I'm sure Army's in there, Coast Guard, the whole gamut, everybody. But we're gonna have a lot of fun. Share it, like it, follow, subscribe, because we love talking about winning on Wednesdays. We do. It's just what we do.
Going on? Happy Wednesday.
Dude, happy Wednesday indeed. Welcome again back to Morpheus, Winning Wednesdays with your strategic innovation cell. That's right. We connect, we communicate, we build human capital. We kind of help the whole thing. But you know what? You're not here just to see me, see Trigger. You know what you're here for? You're here to talk to this guy. The expert of an expert right there, the flag in the background, just waving boldly and proudly for Air Force Gaming. And we got some friends along the way. But dude, I just want to say, first off, thank you so incredibly much for joining us, because I'm telling you, man, I don't think people understand. Mike?
They don't.
I don't think they get it. I don't think they understand the importance of gaming. I don't think they understand yet what it means and the wins that are associated to it. So, man, if you wouldn't mind, please, we brought some guests along, and I don't want to leave them out because they got a lot of great stuff to say. Let's just get to it. If you wouldn't mind, give us some intros of what I'm going to call the Fab Five, and I'm including myself in this right now because there's five.
Oh, good.
The Fantastic Four, adding Trigger, Fab Five. We'll say that. Boom! Here it is. Here it is. Right. Mike, take it away, man.
Check these guys out. Super impromptu. Just hit these guys up and said, hey, let's jump on a call and talk about winning on Wednesday, right? So most importantly, though, we managed to get a broad representation of the different esports and gaming communities within the military here, the Department of Defense. So on my, I'm going to say right. I'm going to say on my right. Nope, wrong point. Wrong
there
point.
It is,
there you
go.
On my right. There you go. Your right, my left, I guess. Something like that. I've got Ghost here. Sergeant Quentin Burgess representing the Space Force Gaming crew. And if you can't see behind him there, it's a little dark, made himself a shadow box from everything that he was rocking at FORCECON down in San Antonio. Easily one of the coolest homemade projects to come out of the event. He's going to show it to us real quick. It's pretty cool. beneath me
That is
here,
super cool.
and I'm going to say like right there,
Right there. Boom,
representing Marine Corps Gaming and the Marine Corps, Staff Sergeant Ian Mills. This guy's been
Look at those guns.
against all odds, man. Just beating it up, trying to make gaming happen in the Marine Corps. And this dude's energy is unmatched. To include the fact that he's been in the esports scene for well over a decade,
Yeah.
making a name for himself, and now trying to make a name for Marine Corps Gaming. Then, last but not least, representing Air Force Gaming and the Air Force, Senior Airman Zurich Weiser, who has just been a champion of the Air Force Gaming program for probably over 2 years now, basically since before we were an official organization. What's up, guys?
Dude, welcome. We'll give them a warm Morpheus welcome. Thanks for being here, y'all. Seriously, it's truly, you're the best. You're the best. So, Mike, dude, this little snapshot that we have right here, this is truly a great snapshot of really what FORCECON is, what FORCECON was. For those who don't know, man, I when I heard about it, I was just totally pumped about what it was, because it wasn't just DoD gaming. I mean, this is an opportunity for civilians, for anybody to get involved. I mean, it was honestly the coolest event that I'd heard of. I was like, wait a minute, I can bring my kids to this and they can be involved? Like, that's so sick. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us a rundown of for anybody who missed it, what that was, just what FORCECON was, what it was meant to be, what you saw. I mean, there's so much to talk about it, about the wins with it. Take it away, truly take it away, man. Would love to be able to hear more about that.
Man, it's more like what was FORCECON not, because the event itself was just so broad. The audience, it was open to the public. We sold out, believe it or not. Now, it's kind of a weird word because the tickets were free. So to say we sold out, we hit capacity at somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500 participants just for Saturday alone, which was our Armed Forces Sports Esports Championship, the first ever of its kind, where the Department of Defense finally bought in and said, you know what, we'll give esports a chance, in the idea that we're going to treat it like a traditional sport, where the Army, Navy, Marines, everybody competes in things like rugby, soccer, football. So they finally jumped in and they were like, esports, we'll give that a shot. And I think we knocked it out of the park. We blew it out of the water. And it wasn't just putting people up on stage to compete. Go Air Force. Air Force took home the trophy, but the competition was absolutely ridiculous. But there was so much more to do. If you were to look behind the scenes, we had interactive gaming stations or different industry vendor booths from like Unity and various organizations out there in the esports or tech industry that joined us just to say, hey, come check us out. Here's what we're doing. And to give those participants something a little bit more to do than just watch the competition on stage. Obviously, that was the best part, especially the hype. I think one of the best things is we had good representation from every branch of service in the crowd. Air Force being, near Lackland Air Force Base, I think we might have overshadowed everybody. But, when the Army was up on stage, there was no shortage of people rooting for the Army, rooting for the Marines, the Coast Guard, everything like that. It was just such an incredible event.
So when you initially, because like FORCECON isn't just something that just like up and happened, right? I mean, there's been planning, there's been thought, there's been a lot that's gone into it. And if wherever you're watching from right now, if it's LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever it is, feel free to throw comments in there. Any question you have, we're also monitoring on those as well. But FORCECON, that was major. It was an excellent production. It was an awesome impact for what people were looking at and what they experienced. But that didn't just like, oh, hey, we'll do this next week. That's been a culmination of a lot of effort, a lot of growth, a lot of, frankly, of growing an entire community. Was this the first kind of major thing of saying, hey, like we're here, we're here to stay, as DoD as a whole, gaming across? What has that background been like?
I would say FORCECON in and of itself was the first event of this magnitude that was owned and operated by the Department of Defense. The Air Force took it and ran with it. You're right, it didn't just happen overnight. We didn't start last week to make something happen this week, even though a lot of the decisions for final touches totally happened that way, to include on the spot while the event was happening, making minor tweaks and changes just to make sure that the experience was there. But I want to say, just for FORCECON alone, we started in January. months and months and months in advance, where we took it from idea to concept to, fully executing it and hitting, what was it, a few 100,000, couple million, 100 million views within 24, 48 hours on our Twitch VOD. Something, astronomical. We've done events in the past, right? There have been branch battles in the past, either official or unofficial, things like that, but nothing of this magnitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And go back and say that again, because I don't, if you don't game, you're not going to know the impact that it was number one. And what it was leading, because I thought I'd heard that it was leading for Halo, or it was the most trending game that was taking place there on
So
Discord.
if you were to hop on Twitch at the time during our live broadcast, we were number one on the category for Twitch for Halo Infinite by far. I think we had triple the amount of viewers of any other channel. It was incredible. It was shocking, really, to be completely honest. It was shocking.
Yeah. And how does that compare? Because you hear of esports, you hear commercial entities that they host events, and then you have the world championships or whatnot. But how does that compare to when you say the impact that it is to have 3 times the amount of people that are watching that and involved and engaged in it? I mean, that's the thing I don't think people realize is not very often that that Air Force has a worldwide international impact in the sense of viewing, influencing people wanting to be like you. I mean, guess what? The Navy can have Top Gun. They can take Top Gun. That's totally fine.
Right.
But is it, I mean, I'm just going to say, man, maybe it's fair to say that Air Force is, gaming is going to be the future. I'm just saying, maybe that's our Top Gun now. I don't got no shame.
We won't talk about the Space Force having Lightyear. I've heard mixed
There you
reviews about that movie. But anyway.
Ian's like, oh, man, don't even get started with the Marines, dude.
Man. So, just a comparison. So Halo Infinite does have a professional esports scene called the Halo Championship Series. And our numbers were rivaling that championship series, where this is a huge competitive community out there. It's global. Where they have thousands upon thousands of viewers regularly watching their open series or their championship series. And we were up there with a single day event that, we were able to market to the military, which is easy. We speak internally, we do word of mouth and things like that. But really, our event probably wasn't known to the industry, right? It wasn't known to that Halo Infinite community. So for us to have anywhere near 1,000 viewers, not to include having over 8,000 concurrent viewers at one point in time, is once again mind-blowing. It's ridiculous.
Man, that mind-blowing is probably a good way to be able to put that. And to our other players, from Space Force, Ghost, you got Ghost as well, and Ian and our players just kind of all the way around, is this, I don't legitimately know. Was this the first time the DoD really came together and said, hey, we're competing with each other, against each other? This is the event. Or have you guys met in other locations? Have there been other competitions that everybody's come together?
But nothing to this magnitude or scope or even been supported by the DoD. Like there's been private entities like Call of Duty Endowment Bowl, World Gamer Foundation, who supported like the DoD esports scene and helped us come together and give us an event to compete against each other. But nothing to this magnitude like the Armed Forces Sports. Like that their support and the quality of production and the work that Air Force Gaming put in, just like it put this at an astronomical proportion. We had like, I think we had 500,000 views in the first day for the Armed Forces Sports Esports Championship, and that was something unexpected to everybody. Like to me, right? Me internally, I've been working in esports last 14, 15 years now, and I had realistic expectations going into this. I'm like, hey, if we break 1,500 views on Twitch, that's a win to me. But really, all I cared about was like the experience on the site for the people there. Like I wanted people to be in the venue to feel like they're at a legitimate esports event, that they're getting all the amenities that you would normally expect from esports event, and that the players are experiencing the same quality of competition, gameplay, and just have that whole pro player experience from competing in the Armed Forces Sports Series. So like that was like my realistic goals, but like we crushed him. Like we absolutely knocked it out the park. Like bases were loaded, grand slam. Like it was insane how much support and how much attention this event got. We had a professional wrestler there. We had pro NFL players show up. So like it was something completely unexpected from everyone, and it was an amazing experience overall.
That's dude. It's to be able to gain that much momentum from where it was. Man, dude, when did Air Force gaming really start? I mean, when did everything kind of kick off? Zig, when did you get involved?
So Air Force Gaming kicked off in late 2020, and I joined towards that end in December of 2020, and then I became an ambassador around March, April of 2021.
Wow. And what was it like before then? I mean, as we talk about wins on Wednesday, I venture to guess, I can guarantee you a question. I'm probably going to get the question. Why were you talking about gaming on innovation? It's like, well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, young man or young lady. We'll explain that one. But what was this environment? What was it beforehand? I mean, like obviously people have been gaming for a while, but it was so much more. The establishment of that so much more than just gaming. I've heard that before.
So before, we weren't actually a part of the Air Force officially. We were not under the Air Force Services Center. We were just a grassroots campaign for the Air Force, and this was also before the Space Force. So it was a lot more. I'd say the word would just be like janky in a sense, just because it was we funded ourselves. Everything that we created was done internally. We had no help from the outside, no help from the government. It was just us. And then we were able to work with it, and I'll use the word innovate, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, a year later, we were able to be picked up as a official program under the Air Force, and we've just skyrocketed since then.
Yeah. Dude, that is so... This is so cool.
Yeah.
When you say an official program underneath the Air Force, I can't imagine there's probably some crusty people out there that's like, oh, the Air Force has totally lost its mind because they're making gaming a priority. We should be focused on war more than anything. But the reality is, like, I couldn't disagree with that more. I literally could not disagree with that more because it gets to this mindset. Ian was talking about it a little bit before, and we'd had this discussion kind of in the pregame show, if you will. But Ghost 101. Sorry, my apologies. If you don't mind, like when you talk about gaming, we're not talking about like your grandpa's Pong Atari. We're talking about highly interactive, incredibly strategic, fast-paced, faster than most of the time you can contemplate what's going on. If you've never gamed before, you're just sitting there watching this. The keystrokes are what we talk about in the flying community, the switchology, like knowing what capabilities, what weapons you have, where, who is in what position. I mean, there's straight on full team coordination that's taking place, strategies that are happening all instantaneously. I would go so far as to say, if people haven't realized this is a constant simulation of battle all the time.
You're not wrong, and it only gets more advanced as the years go on. You get better graphics, you get more in-depth guides of like, hey, this is ability, it does this X, Y, Z, and it does this side effect. You got to be cautious. It'll take a little bit of your health. Hey, don't throw this grenade out the wall. Be careful. Hey, grab the mangler. Slicing those pies with those corners. So it ties in really well with Marines as the forerunners there, being on the ground, boots on the ground first. So they're well adept to more of slicing the pie aspect. But us as Space, we're all happy about Space Force gaming and Air Force gaming, Marine Corps gaming, all gaming in general. It's amazing. Being able to go communicate with our other branches in this way actually demonstrates how as a force we can better communicate. Yeah. Because that's always something, no matter what branch you are, it says, hey, we need to work on communication.
And that like, to me, like the gaming community is just one small aspect of the greater picture of what like the future of warfighting is going to look like. Like You talk to any general right now, and they're going to tell you that the next war is going to be a joint force war. It's going to be a joint operation, and being able to work together with like different branches and different in different gaming communities across the DoD, it just kind of helps build that bond that's going to have to be there in the eventuality that we're all someplace in an austere location deployed working together, and being able to understand how just our different languages kind of translates across the board. It really just helps break that barrier and make it that much easier to communicate with each other. And then for me, right in the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
like our first publication is warfighting. Like that is Marine Corps Warfighting Package 1. Like what we do first is warfighting. And like we can take like as a Marine, I take those same things that I'm taught in my warfighting doctrine, and I apply those to the digital realm, and
Right.
it works perfectly. It translates exactly how it would in a real life scenario. If I'm playing games with Marines, we communicate like Marines in game, and it like our success rate is like the upper 90% percentile. So it's
Yeah.
like warfighting doctrine applied to the digital realm works exactly as it's intended to work in real life too. So there's a lot of practical applications I see being translated, and like I'm taking what we kind of theorized in the Marine Corps back in 1996, 97, when we first developed a video game for training. It was called Marine Doom. So it was a mod of the actual Doom game, and we taken that very small concept from the early 90s, applied it to doctrine now and video games today, and it's still working as intended.
Yeah.
It's like there's always been this gap that needed to be bridged between modeling and simulation and actual war fighting, and right in the middle, that's bridging those two. It's video games. It just works so well.
Yeah.
I mean, I even look at simulators like flight sims, and those things work extremely well. We have limited flight simulators available for use,
Yeah.
but we have a lot of pilots that need to be trained that aren't able to get the proper hours due to maintenance requirements or not enough jets, stuff like that.
Right.
Video games bridge that same gap. Being
Right.
able to help these pilots retain their quals and keeping the deputy commandant out of aviation off their back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's extremely important to understand that like video games is a tool for not only training but resilience and overall success of building a better warfighter.
Yeah. Oh, dude, could not agree more. And you're talking my language when you're saying, simulation and flying. We'll circle back to that real quick. But we did have a question from Brian. If you saw it there, it said, "I'm curious about the shift in perspective on Air Force gaming once it became official. Like once it, as things have a propensity to do, when the system absorbs it." Suddenly, sometimes it can lose its flavor, if you will. Did some suddenly see it as then lame and mandatory fun once that was actually absorbed in? You kind of go from the the I don't want to say clubhouse feel, but like the organic feel of, hey, it's just the bros and the brostesses having fun. We're organically pulling it together, and then suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, this has been indoctrinated. What was that like? What have you seen from that?
So it's amazing. I'll just put it's point blank amazing. It's not mandatory fun. It's not lame. You literally have to apply to create each individual team. So there'll be a team captain. You'll create the team. And then from there, you're going to go on and apply to teams for each individual competition. AFG has a wonderful website that they use for Air and Space Force. And then also the Marines have another website that they use as well. And we all apply, and then we just play games. It's just fun. You can be with your buddies. You can be with coworkers. You can try to play actual strats and try to go for 100% the dub. You can be as competitive as you want and as laid back as you want. It's however you want to make it. And that's what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So it's not mandatory fun. FORCECON 2022 was an amazing experience, especially to meet everyone there. It was the first time we all actually got to see each other and be involved with everyone. So it was not mandatory fun or lame. Yeah. It was awesome as hell.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brian had one more question based off of kind of what you said there. He said practical Let's see, practical application. I'm legit thinking about design spreading the idea of replacing some LMR systems. I would assume that's learning management something. Learning management, maybe systems with game
LAN mobile radio.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go.
I'm assuming.
LAN. Brian, if you can, throw that in the chat so we can discuss that. Systems with game-like team voice chat. And what that would look like? Man, I from what I can say is even with the pilot training transformation, what I was able to do, be involved with that over the last several years, is one of the capabilities we were using is live ATC that a company had created. I mean, it was commercial off the shelf. That was the charge really that we got is, I want you to go out. I'll never forget. It was a vice president commander. He said, I want you to go out. You got 3 months. I don't care where you go. Well, you need to come back with solutions to help us, no kidding, establish better academic processes to be able to utilize and integrate these commercial off-the-shelf capabilities. Tech. Use what is out there and see how it can help. And live air traffic control, man, it's so cool. Somebody created a company that takes air traffic controllers from, Los Angeles or wherever it is, at these major Class B airspaces. And in their off-duty, they work for this and control live aircraft per FAA regulation in a simulated run. Like, come on. Like, you can't get better training than that. That's out of control. Because if you literally do something, they will contact you and say, listen, you just got violated. Like you would have been violated in real life. And then it's kind of like a debrief. It's more of like an academic realm. And it's so funny because some of the people who dove into it and were doing it, like you hop into a sim and I'm seeing adult men and women sweating because they're nervous about making the radio call in this congested simulated airspace. You can't make this up, man. Literally sweating. Like, how can you get better at this cognitive process of thinking and trying and testing? It's real, man. It's very, very, very real. Brian said land mobile radio. Indeed. Yes, it is. So any thoughts on that, of using these applications?
Yes.
In ways. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, most gamers, in fact, like I would say all gamers are using Discord. It's literally the number one way to communicate. Discord is so reliable that companies stopped using Slack and work exclusively on Discord.
Wow.
Like they run their entire multi-million-dollar businesses
except the military.
Discord. Except the military, because the military has not yet reached out to Discord to create their own proprietary version of Discord, which will literally be Discord for government, so they could use that to communicate.
I'm late on this, but here you go with that. There you go. There you go. Sorry, I was late, Mike. I was late. Go ahead.
Yeah, and, like Discord's like some people don't even subscribe to phone services because they use Discord to communicate. They literally rely on having internet connection and Discord, and they use that for their phone calls, their text messages. In fact, I'm getting a Discord call right now. Holy crap.
Dude, Ian's doing biz over there, man. He's live streaming and doing biz, doing deals across the sea.
But it's just that's the thing. It's like it went down for the first time in 10 years. The other day it went down for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And the world, like the entire internet freaked out for like a good few hours. Like, oh my God, Discord's down. And people were like, this is never heard of. Is something happening? Like people thought it was like a global issue because Discord went down for a few minutes. That's how reliable Discord has been over the last decade.
That's amazing. Well, I know exactly what you mean because, gosh, who was it? Do you remember the post? It was one of our bros, also Air Force gaming. He was sharing about his nephew that he was gaming with, and like his nephew's handle and what his name was. It was just like a bunch of letters and numbers. Do you remember who that was? Oh, anyway, he was gaming with his nephew, and his username was all letters and numbers, and he was like, "Hey, why is your name that?" He was like, "Well, like I started gaming when I was 6. I didn't know how to spell." Dude, this is the world we live in right now. My daughter, we go somewhere. We were at a park. I don't even know how she did it. This is the scary thing. I don't even know how she did it. She had this little phone that her uncle had given. Thanks a lot, because an 8-year-old needs a phone. But it had given her. There's nothing on it, and somehow she found internet in the middle of this park. And I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Playing Roblox." It's like, what? Off of what? She was like, "Oh, I just tapped into your hotspot." I didn't even know I had my hotspot on. Anything like that. But that's the world that they operate in. That's the world that we operate in now, that you can say, hey, Discord, man, maybe I don't need phone service. But this is this highly adaptive, highly evolving, rapidly assimilating information world we live in. So what does that mean? Let's talk for a second. And again, the things we talk about now, this isn't dogging on our systems. It's not being negative towards the military. It's not saying anything like that, whether it's the Marine, Space Force, Air Force. What it is saying is having real conversations, saying, hey, there are things we need to work on. Like, there's things we need to address to make ourselves better and to be able to get after it. So what do you see in the future when you see these people that you compete against, these guys and gals that are just incredibly brilliant, incredibly intelligent, just truly stretching the envelope of esports? What does that look like when then you go to work and you go through some of the processes you go through and you look at some of the jobs that we're working on and saying, man, there has got, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What is that like when you compare those two realms? And again, it's not dogging on anything. It's just, what is the reality?
No, it's change. It's culture change. I've been in the military long enough to have been around when being a gamer was like taboo. It was not okay. You couldn't just, openly have a conversation in the office, in a mixed office where, not everybody's a gamer, and just start openly talking about, I spent 20 hours this weekend playing World of Warcraft and things like that. People would have given you the side eye, like, okay, that's not healthy. Now, granted, that's still not healthy in today's, world if you're trying to maintain a good sleep schedule and stuff like that. But almost everybody's a gamer nowadays, or at least they understand like gamer lingo, gamer talk, or have a better idea of what that environment is like instead of just what you pull from the news, where it's, someone attributed like a shooting to because they played too much Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto or something like that. Nowadays, I would like to think that the majority of the population has a better idea of what gaming esports actually is, and you see that in our military nowadays. I can finally go to my office and talk about the video game that I just bought or didn't buy or something like that. My Steam library is way too big at the moment, and a lot of unplayed games. But you could talk about that. You could talk about it openly, and people are going to actually join in on the conversation. People that that gaming to them is playing Candy Crush on their phone, but they understand it, they get it. It's no longer something you have to talk about behind the scenes. So for me, like, that future is just change. It's a culture shift. It's something where everyone just kind of gets it, and it's awesome. And we're invading now, right? Like, we're invading the DoD. Gamers are taking over.
Yeah. Listen, you heard it here first. Morpheus gave you the warning. You can either get on board or you can get totally left behind. But as we're talking about that mindset, that next generation Ghost 101. I know you had something to mention about that because you see that we all see that change.
Yeah, so we're already seeing it. So I see it with my little sisters, brother, everyone. You go out even onto the streets right now, like walk outside. What does everyone have in their pocket or on them at all times?
Right.
Except in restricted areas, hopefully not.
Yeah.
Cell phones. Everyone has them. So that's going to be realistically the future. I mean, if you just look at, not to like shout out games, but like Apex Legends Mobile, it's already way surpassed the game in terms of users. Yeah. They all use it. They're going to use Discord to communicate. And we're going to be, I know I personally used Discord during the middle of COVID when we were trying to create a contact tracing program for Del 4. So we ended up doing that. It wasn't the best program, but it worked. And that allowed us to say, like, hey, all right, this person has COVID. Cool. All right. Do they have childcare set up? Do we need to get them childcare? Did they get anyone else sick? Is that contagion now on ops? Is ops going to be affected? Do we need to adjust schedules? Are we going to be able to do all of our commanding opportunities? Are we going to miss something? So Discord and communication now has drastically changed. I still remember barely getting internet for the first time way back in the day when I built my first PC, and it is drastically changed. If you look at the Call of Duty lobbies, they don't really change much, but they've changed a little bit. It's just amazing to see how much better and interconnected that we've become, not only as a force, but as a world. Yeah. And as we slowly get even the more remote areas online, our ability to communicate, bring ideas together, and to share our intellect and thinking and carrying capacity for making a better world, or even just having fun on video games to help relax with the bros or the girls, whichever one.
Bros and the
It's gonna be.
they're all there. They're all there, man. Completely. And you know, when Ian, when you were talking earlier, you'd said something, and as you were sharing the idea of being connected with so many people and what FORCECON really was, I had this thought of, I was like, wait a minute, this is like the greatest recruiting tool involvement ever, because what happens when you say, hey, you know, you throw a challenge out to a bunch of middle school aged people for a Halo challenge and say, hey, take on the Marine Halo team. Like, what? I mean, that's an amazing. Be like, hold on. We're gonna take on a bunch of Marines who literally know tactics and how to be able to take us down. What if we beat them? Like, what happens?
The school kids had a good shot. I'll just give them that based on Marines' performance.
Oh, so much hate, but also so much love. It's but you know what I mean? Like, what if you look at the gaming ability and say, listen, you can fly against literally F-22 pilots in a dogfight in this event that is going to be televised, is going to be pushed out across the Air Force. We're going to take the best civilian dogfighters out there in, I don't know, combat game or whatever it is. We're going to take them, and we're going to have a straight up battle royale, man. It's going to be all out. And you can take on, no kidding, people who are literally, they do this for a living. I can't think of anything, like, you never get an opportunity. You can go to air shows, you can go to demonstrations, you can go to, ITSEC, where it's all the technology and all the gear and all the capability. But when do you have a chance, like, sit down and engage with people at minimal cost? You want to talk about minimal cost. My question, guys, is how do we get there? How do we get there?
I think first we need to establish the norms of gaming across the spectrum. And that is, we need to use gaming as a resiliency tool. And that's exactly what Air Force Gaming is doing. Like, they've already built a community of gamers inside their organization that are all going to be in contact with each other probably the rest of their careers, and probably post Air Force too. What a lot of the military is seeing today is a lack of retention, and Air Force isn't having that issue because they've built a community. They have like 23,000 gamers inside of Air Force Gaming. That is impressive. We don't, like, the other parts of the DoD aren't seeing that. They're utilizing gaming for recruiting, and they're not even executing recruiting the proper way using gaming. It's very organizational. It's very corpo. And they need to be more organic about how they utilize gaming and how they insert themselves into the gaming community, because, like, these kids nowadays are way smarter than we were growing up, and they see right through the fakeness behind recruiting efforts. What we can do is take a full spectrum approach to gaming as a recruiting tool by first building out gaming organizations that are internal to the DoD, like Air Force Gaming. Build that out and support it the same way the Air Force supports Air Force Gaming. Every part of DoD needs to support it that way. Then they expand on that by using recruiting as a tool to bring in new recruits, because the same things that brought those recruits in needs to be the same thing that helps retain that top talent. So if you're bringing in talent through gaming and they leave because they don't get to explore their options in gaming, aka compete at the Armed Forces Sports esports events,
right?
Then they're just going to leave.
Right.
Like, you just wasted 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars training and equipping and manning this person just for them to be dissatisfied and leave after you spent probably the first 2 years training this person, and you only got 2 years out of their military occupational specialty. So, like, we have to really rethink how we utilize gaming inside the DoD. But what I would say is there's so much untapped potential across the board to utilize all of the different talents that we have throughout the entire DoD. whether it's like whether it's our pilots, our like we can use our pilots in, for exhibitions in the virtual realm, just like we send out the Blue Angels or the flight demonstration crews. We can send them out and compete against, like, use them in demonstrations in game. Same thing with like these. There's a game called World of Tanks where they have every tank known to man. Why don't we put our tank operators in those games and compete against some of the best world of tankers? Call of Duty Endowment Bowl, they take our best Call of Duty players across the DoD and they team them up with some of the best Call of Duty players in the world to compete against each other's branch. And we have that event coming up this December, and that's gonna be a slugfest. And Space Force already is hoisting the trophy, and they're hungry for a repeat. So it's like, we'll see some of our best warfighters go out and compete in the virtual realm this fall also. So it's like, we have so much talent that translates over to the digital realm that it's a shame to not support it. It's almost criminal to not support how much talent that we have.
Right.
I believe it's because we're still stuck in the 1947 structure of the DoD and not really thinking about how we really approach the 21st century properly.
Yeah. I mean, the question that I'm going to toss it over to you, Zig, is you have this mindset. I mean, there's been a couple of the ideas that have been kicking around. Is what if you could truly crowdsource education? What if you could truly crowdsource tech school, like legitimately? What if you were able to say, hey, why is it that we need to step into an archaic form of education in academia? Because for me, this is my struggle, is by the time a new capability has been learned, the amount of time it takes to be able to develop a course, get it signed off, get it accredited in a university, then there's going to be the money and the finance to it, when instead you could probably rally together in a sprint format a bunch of people who just have a desire to teach the course better or teach whatever that is because they truly love what they're doing. And they could create something better than anybody could do with a $5 million contract. They could create education opportunities better and faster. And to me, this is the concern, is if you have people who fundamentally think faster, assimilate data faster, and that's what I'm going to say. Gamers assimilate data faster. Can I prove it? No, but you watch it. It's true. How do you teach people like this when they're entering the military or they're entering into some sort of service capability, and our system of educating is way behind what their capability is? Their capability to understand and to execute is. Like, education's over here, their ability, their competency, their skill is over here. How do you do that? Like, how do we bridge that gap? Zig, I tossed you a really hard one, but best of luck to you.
Are you meaning specifically, like, how do we convince them that this is the way?
Oh, look at that. I see what you did there. This is the way. Yeah, I mean, one, yes, how do we show that? How do we show them that, hey, there is a fundamental difference of how we assimilate information, how we think about information, the processing data. It's just like it's osmotic. It's just absorbed. I'll give this example that I'll hop in there with you. My daughter, actually my son was doing something, and I don't know what he was doing. It was a new game. Actually, it was when he just started playing Roblox. I was like, how did you know to do that? I was like, I don't know, I just did it. I was like, what do you mean you just did it? Like, how did you know that button did that? I was like, I don't know, just tap.
Right.
And it's, for me, I would have tried to get out the manual and instruct him, like, well, where's the help menu to be able to show me what the keys are or whatever. And he's just like hopping in there, blasting away, gets killed 3 times, then he has it figured out.
He's growing up with it.
How do we translate this to enable ourselves as a force, DoD, Air Force, Space Force, Marines, Guardians, Army? How do we help ourselves with this?
So what I'd say is, when we're thinking about creating a digital future and what that looks like and how are we going to be able to show, like, who are the people that are able to do this, you're completely right. It is the gamers. And what I'll say is, a really bad thought that a lot of senior leaders have is, oh, we got to get these guys out of the dorms and they are just wasting their time and they're just playing video games and they could be doing so much more with their lives and things like that. And Meanwhile, they're in their dorm rooms and they're building computers, right? They're innovating in their own rooms. And why would you not want to capitalize on that and to have those airmen or anybody in the military? Why would you not want them to be the ones who are leading that digital future? Why would you not be seeking out the people who have the skills already? Some security forces guy who happens to be programming at home. Why would you not want them to be the ones who are leading this digital future when they already have the skills? So I'm 21. I grew up with the internet. I grew up with gaming, and so it was often for me. It was a lot of times where it was like, Zig, how do you know how to do this? Like just how you said, and I'm like, well, I grew up with it. This is what I know. So if we're trying to adapt to this is the future, well, we are the future, right? Gamers are the future. We grew up with gaming, so we need to capitalize on that.
Yeah, dude, I could not agree with you more. I mean, your ability to be able to find information, know where to look, know how to be able to process it, it's all changed. It's all changed. I mean, I 2 years ago, I would have called, for a rental house or something like that, I would have called a plumber or somebody else to do the work. But why would I do that if I can literally go on and have an electrician teach me how to do it, the do's and don'ts, and I can fix my problem myself? And that's, that's just information in general. But even those capabilities are something that I really think we have to keep in mind. This last week, I don't think it may be too late to sign up, but the Chief Digital Transformation Officer of the Air Force was on here, Stuart Wagner, and he was talking about the Bravo Hackathon and the importance of, hey, you have the Bravo Hackathon coming up. They're taking legitimate mission set needs and capabilities. And the coolest thing to me when he was talking about this was, he said, listen, it's not just military. We don't just need programmers. We need random civilians who have a different perspective. We need civilians, government contract workers. We need pilots. We need maintainers. We need people to look at these things from all different directions because everybody's assimilating information. They're thinking about things differently. We don't just want the same answer all the time. We want people involved with it. So that capability of how do we think about things differently? What is the step that we take? And I'll toss this out just kind of as we wrap up this week's Winning Wednesday, because we've been talking about a lot of wins, a lot of great ideas of what gaming offers, of what the mindset offers. But I'll toss this out to anyone, just kind of one time around the room, with what is it that you hope of this next year? What is your hope will happen, that you'll see taking place, that you'll see taking steps for, whether it's your specific branch or whether it's just gaming as a whole, or whether it's the connectivity from senior leaders, understanding the power of gaming? What is your hope that in this next year you will see steps towards and movement towards as far as gaming and that integration and the mindset and utilization of it? I ask you. Who wants to go first?
Not it.
Not it. Oh, look at him. Zig gets to go.
Zig, go first.
Zig gets to go. Zig, take it, man.
So what I'll say is last July, we went to AFSA, which it stands for Air Force Sergeants Association. And it was a convention of a bunch of enlisted folk in the Air Force. And it was basically all about leadership. And there were talks, kind of like TED Talks from senior leaders who were knowledgeable on a subject. And there were booths and things like that. And Air Force Gaming was there. We set up a booth. And we also had a talk that we were able to present of what is Air Force Gaming, why is Air Force Gaming important, and all of that. And since then, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we've doubled in size now. Am I wrong? Oh, okay.
No, just kidding.
I think we had like 13K, and now we have 26.
Yeah. So
we've doubled in size in the past year, and I remember. What really struck home for me was we had, so these are our senior leaders, right? I'm a senior airman. I'm an E4. We had E9s, chiefs coming by and saying, what is Air Force Gaming? What is this? This is a waste of time. This is a waste of money. This shouldn't be at my AFSA in my Air Force type of thing.
Right? No, hold on. They said what? Hold on. What? These things were legitimately said to you?
Yes. And we went on stage. Mike went on stage and gave a presentation about how important this program is. And by the end of the presentation, we had the same chiefs going, you know what? I get it. I understand why this is important. And we had too many people telling us that we were the highlight of the entire convention, that Air Force Gaming was the best booth as well as the best presentation. And it trumped like all other presentations at the event. So I think that was really cool. And so to answer the question, it's if we did that in just our first year of being official, um, what's next? Another double in size, even more senior leaders. What I really want to see is for Air Force and for the Space Force, Department of the Air Force, but really the military in general, as Ian was saying, is to actually just finally adopt this system of, hey, we are capable. We are the ones who are able to be that digital future, and this isn't a waste of taxpayer dollars. And yeah, that's what I'd say is fully adopting what we have here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then I just want to point out one thing real quick, is that experience when you said, because that is a harsh reality, that when you think of where senior leaders are, they spent 20, 30 years of building, of going through and building and understanding how the military works, what it has to do. And since working within Morpheus, I have a heart and kind of, I understand why there's that, at times there's this gap of understanding, because they truly, you talk about the vice chief and Chief Brown, they truly really want to know the truth of, hey, what is it that we need to do? Where is it? But you play the telephone game, and that's no individual's fault. I mean, that's the nature of a large system. It's hard to truly communicate the real value. And the thing I love you said there is that there are people who really didn't understand. And they didn't understand so much so they were like, listen, you don't even belong here. Why is this here? But then when articulated for the truth of what is actually going on, you can change minds. You can bring that reality to people. If you're bold enough to do what you're talking about, if you're bold enough to take the step, you can literally change your environment and opinions and mindsets and structure. You can do that. And Air Force Gaming and what happened there at FORCECON is proof of that. So continue on around the room. Dude, is a killer point. Awesome. Who's next? Anybody else?
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So if you really look at it too, it's like, what's in home and what is at work with you every day for at least Space Force people. Air Force, a couple different AFSCs, and Marines, not entirely sure. Keyboards. So you're going to go from home playing games. How do you tie that in with work? All right, hey, I like this individual GUI, how it's positioned, how it's looking. Maybe we could do better representation of what we're working on our weapon system. Could we tweak it? Could we make it better? Could we get some extra data out of this? How do we employ that? How do we project that down range to people actually in combat zones? What can we do? So what we're going to do is we're going to tie in what we already know as gamers. Like, hey, Discord for comms, best thing that has ever been made, in my opinion. Yeah. Then you're going to tie in like, hey, I know how to make this GUI. This can actually be able to help us do on-orbit operations. It can help us go around the belt. It doesn't matter. You can do so many things. That possibilities are limitless, from what you can do on your personal computer to then projecting that to work in the DoD. Because we've seen it with creating programs with a few others like Captain Hubert at Del Force, so shout out to him. We created the contact tracing program, and that was just something that we were working on in our off time during the 4 months of sequestering that we started at the start of COVID. And we're like, we need to do something because nothing's being done. All right, cool. There's this. Great. We're going to push that out. And then, hey, we want to make better mission logging. So to tie in with what was previously said about using the, Mattermost, and then we also have darts that's being worked on. So everything that you see right now that's being worked on in the Air and Space Force has had, in some way, a tie-in with actual real-world gaming or communities along those lines. It is so founded in our society today. I guarantee you can't go up to a single individual in the world even who hasn't even seen or heard or not even touched one game, either mobile, laptop, game, Game Boy, Nintendo 64, everything. We've all touched it. So how do we tie that in? Through our peripherals and then through the graphics. We're going to see those first, and we're like, hey, I can go to work. I can augment this process. I can learn a little bit of code. This program, or even TV shows and movies, it incites us. Like Marvel excites everyone's like, oh yeah, Iron Man. Let's create these vast, amazing suits of armor. How do we do that in the real world?
Right. Right. Dude, so incredibly true. So incredibly true. And I think that's really fair. In fact, going back to, we do have a couple of comments real quick. Going back to with my involvement with pilot training transformation mindset, one of the things that General Quast, when he was the Air Education Training Commander, is says that, listen, we need on-command, on-demand academics and access. We have to. Everybody has a phone in their hand, exactly what you're talking about. Everybody has the internet for most part. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't. There's literally government subsidies to make sure people have access to the internet, because it's talked about kind of like almost a necessary utility for communication for people. The reason to be able to understand how we bridge that gap. And we did have a couple of comments that I think were really important on here. Brian said, Air Force Gaming is the most memorable thing I remember from the Innovation Summit San Antonio last year. They sold us not a product, but a story. That's huge, huge. And then Stephen Ogg says, leaders were also raised in an Air Force when ROI return on investment had to be quantifiable, which this is a really, really good point. It had to be quantifiable, and that quantifiable had to be done before anyone was really necessarily willing to take a risk. Now, I have seen a lot of change and a lot of growth. Look at AFWorks. 3 years ago, the possibility of creating an organic innovation ecosystem. 4 years ago, it was just an idea, but somebody took a risk. And you're starting to see a lot more of that. But his point, I think Stephen's point, was the difference between that quantifiable, hey, what is the risk? And we don't know what's going to happen, but we just need to try it, that we just have to bridge that gap. It says Air Force Gaming, continuing to push the limits. And then Vance said, of course, who let Zig on hair? Which is awesome, man. Awesome. All right. Oh, anybody else? Parting shots before we peace out of here today. Ian, from the Marine, tell us, brother. Parting shots. What you think?
So for my institution specifically, we just released this document called Talent Management 2030, which is it's a complete revamp of our entire system as it's been since 1980. What I would say is, for the Marine Corps, is to put your money where your mouth is. You say you want to manage talent, well, you start by supporting the talent that's already in the institution. Wow. You rework the institutional norms to support the Marines of the next generation. There's no longer a Marine Corps where a Marine is a single faceted individual. We're a lot more complex. We're a lot smarter. We're a lot faster. We're more lethal, and you have to support the Marines of the next generation.
Yeah.
And until you do so, there will your words will fall upon deaf ears. So put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
That's how you win. That's how you win the next war.
That's how we win. You're right. We got to follow through. We have to have that follow through and take it seriously and know what that is. We had a comment here. Christopher said, support to branch marketing, a direct service members' readiness, resilience to even diplomatic relations, military esports programs have the potential to affect so much more.
Absolutely.
Than most believe.
Absolutely.
Dude, I could not agree.
Esports, oh my God. Esports, we could use this to international relations. We could literally have generals and world leaders in the same room because of esports. If we did like a huge NATO event and invited, even countries that we have not so good relations with to compete against each other in video games, that forces people to the table.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the leader not supporting your troops or not supporting your countrymen. You want to be the leader there in that room supporting them. Where in esports is a very, very peaceful competitive solution to these international international disputes.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. You know, there's
every country in the world a part of CISM, so that brings me to the table. I absolutely see a future where esports could be used as a platform for world peace.
Yeah, dude, I don't think it's impossible. I don't. Here's how I know that you make a difference. You're making a difference is when you have the chief learning officer of the Air Force watching the stream, and she hops on with Dr. Wendy Walsh and says, "Amen. Support the talent that's already there." You know you're making a difference. Listen, oh my gosh, you know you're having an impact. We just got to do that real quick. Applause right there for Dr. Wendy Walsh. Come on, very, very, very good. Awesome. You know, when you talk about, and this is one of the things that I think is really, really cool, is Air Education Training Command, at least through the Air Force, Dr. Wendy Walsh, who we've had on here before, their mindset is, you're right, we got to get after gaming. We have to understand it. And the things that I've heard them say before is, we know we don't understand the full capacity of it, but we're going to start figuring out how do we utilize this? How do we get smart on this? How do we do this? Friends, listen, Marine gaming, Space Force Guardian gaming, Air Force gaming, gentlemen, it is so good to have you. Thanks so much for joining us here at Morpheus. We will see you later. Happy streams, and we'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks so much, Mike, for pulling everybody together. Truly has been a blast, and guarantee you we will have you guys all on one time very soon in the future. Awesome. Thank you so incredibly much. Listen, if you've enjoyed this last hour, Winning Wednesday had no intention of it going an hour, but here's the deal. When you got great input, when you got great mindsets, you can't help but be able to share. If you have a question, you got a comment, hit us up right here, team@morpheusaf.com. Your chance to be able to connect with us and let us know your thoughts. Also, wherever you're watching from, let us know what content you want to hear and what you want to be having discussed, because we truly are here to be able to connect the Air Force innovation ecosystem, to communicate what's important across all of the organizations, help human capital to be able to grow, and to transition those great ideas that you have right there across the finish line. Let's do it. Friends, we'll see you next time. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, hit the bell, whatever you need to do to get updates right here at Winning Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. Trigger, Morpheus. We'll see you guys later. See ya.